But this way I'll at least be quicker. Okay, so we've got Mashima or Mishima, or we're not going to argue about which way to say it. Needle tool and X-Acto knife. X-Acto knife is going to make smaller lines. Needle tool is going to make thicker lines. When we make the line, it's going to leave an indentation, and we'll fill the indentation with some kind of colored something. In this case, it'll be black underglaze. So we're going to make Mr. Robot. If you try to dent it first, some people want to draw it with a marker, that marker can leave enough of a dent that it'll show up later. So we may not want to use a marker. Possibly a brush with, what's that stuff? Food coloring to mark it if you had to mark it. Oh, yeah, I was going to make other lines. So I'll do the rest of him with the sharper lines, which have curves, which don't work as well. Because you have to rotate the knife as you go around so that it makes an even cut. We can do dents. You can dent this with other things. So here, that's my crappily drawn circle. We can take apart something. Do we have a taken apart pen? Here, we'll just dent it with this. No, we can't dent it. We need something I can take apart. Oh, broken pen! Ah! Oh yeah, here we go. So I can make an impression with other tools, so like the end of the pen. All right, and then we'll make the rest of the lines. I can't hear you.
She wants to pen back now.
I suppose so. We may need the stunt pen again, though. Okay, we get the idea. So, the start of Mashima. All right. Mashima! So we have our little robot. He's dried up some. I'm going to gently brush away the little flaky bits. That worked really well. And then take black underglaze and squish it into these lines. Now, I don't know if this is actually Mashima, Moshima, Shamamumi. I guess we call it now designy, scratchy, cutty, filly, scrapey, sandy, bisky, sandy. To be accurate. So we wipe that in, and now we let that set up and dry. We want to make sure it's in those cracks. If it's not in the cracks, you're not going to get the design when we go to pull it out. We also want to make sure that they're full. If there's holes in the design, we might lose some of it too when we go to scrapey. Okay, now we let that sit. Okay, inlay next. So we have our, again, smoothed out slab. I'm going to cut a robot. Well, first I'll draw the robot design in rough. We'll make Mr. Robot again. We only need the outside marks of the robot.
Do you care how fine those lines are?
Oh no, I'm going to carve this all away.
Oh.
That's an idea. So we're going to take that, and we can use one of like the little small Kemper ones. We can use the larger flat tools, but all we need to do is just take about an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/16 of an inch of this off. We just want to stay right in our drawings. And it doesn't have to be nice and cleaned up or anything. We're just removing it. Go. Smaller tool, right? For smaller things. Psh. Psh.
Looks a little wet. Is that how you want it for this?
It's a tad bit wet. If we let the clay go too dry on a lot of these, then it's either hard to cut or hard to get stuff to stick to it. So like this one, if we do this too dry, the inlay will come out of the decoration when the inlay shrinks. So I'm giving it a loose scoring with a little scratchy doodad. I'm going to take soft contrasting clay. You can make the clay out of anything that you want, or make the color out of anything that you want. This just happens to be black clay that somebody left in my studio. And I'm going to smear and work that into the design, trying not to go too far over my initial design so that I don't have a lot of work to do later. But I want to work that into the scoring so that it doesn't come out. And you just heard Stankiewicz rummaging in the toolbox. He'll whisper that, but bang around in the... I remember the old videos we did in the other side. Who was it? Charlie. It was Charlie that was banging a stool around in the background, and I go, Charlie! He goes, what? So this can stay up above the surface a little bit. What I'm going to end up doing is scraping it all back so that it's level. Okay, so we're going to let that set up some. Pushed it in. It's set up some. I probably should let it set up more, but we've got limited one time here. I'm going to scrape it back so that it's a little more level with the flexible metal rib of death. What I don't want to do is pull away from an edge like this too much, because I'll pull the inlay out. So I'm going to try to go with the line. If I go this way, I'm going to smear the inlay over the rest of the clay. That makes sense, right? Watch, I'll do it. Smear. See, look at it. Blech. We don't want that to happen. Stankiewicz likes that, he says. And we don't need to bring it all the way down to the final level right now, but we want to get it closer so we have less to do when the piece is drier. So now I'm going to hold the whole flat side so that I'm making sure I'm leveling the whole slab back out here. I'm cleaning off the rib too after each pass so that I'm not dragging, like I did there, as much of the inlay color around the piece. Okay, so that is now flat. I don't know if you can see. Can I tell? Woo, see? It's even. Woo, woo. Now, morning class decided, hey, you did one inlay, you could do two. Damn them, they're right. So rather than like painting on or whatever, I could take and cut some of my designs out. Now it kind of looks like Sgraffito because I'm going so deep. But one of the reasons to do inlay is that it'll end up being level. So I'm going to make these cuts and I'm going to let it sit a little bit. Although if I do white there, it's not going to really show up. Way to plan that one out. Right, so then we'll take, uh-oh, does anybody have white, like soft white around here? Because the only one that I have is holding the camera. Oh, I can get it. I can get it. So this is softer than the black, hopefully. I'm going to squish it into the designs. And I'm going to show the morning's class when I do the follow-up here of both, because this is a little different than we did in the morning. And I probably should let that black stiffen up some more, because I'm probably just smearing it around when I stick the white on it, right? Stankiewicz says yes. You can't hear him off camera, but he totally said yes. Good observation, Stankiewicz.
Thanks for the heads up, Stankiewicz.
Huh? You're enthralled, huh?
Can you do this with slips?
Like put slips into it?
Yeah, let them dry and then scrape it away.
Well, a slip is going to shrink a lot. So you may be below the surface that you started with. So, this morning's class was really hung up on inlay versus inlay versus Mashima, whatever it is. So inlay is like broad color swaths, and the Mashima, whatever we're going to call it, is lines. So it's the difference between like pencils and markers, or pencils and tempera paint. You know, it's like big color or not. So we'll let that set up. And was that all of them? Oh, Mashima! Boop. Okay, so the carving one is basically just removing clay and a bas-relief. Bas-reliefs can be tricky because you're trying to make a design look three-dimensional while being basically two-dimensional. So we're trying to make lines that are related to other parts of it without having to actually carve an individual line. So rather than making, let me get a waster one. So rather than making a line to organize, let's say, a square overlapping another square and just putting lines on, what we're going to do instead is cut out this square at a depth and bring it back up almost to full depth here, and then cut another square back to that same depth, so that what we get is we can still see that pattern, especially when we put a glaze or something that pools in it, or something that will break on edges, but it'll give us more depth than what we would get out of just drawing a line, because we don't want to draw a line, we're carving this time. So if we implement that into robotness first, no.
Thanks, Tim.
So to put it in a robot, I'm going to draw it first, and I'll do just the head part, and I'm going to do it a little bit bigger because it's really hard to carve little itty bitty dumb robot parts small. We'll make this one a bad one. All the robots have been good so far. So that is our basic design. Now, we could pick a light source. Let's say light source is up top. So then we want all of our shadow to be on the underside. So to get highlights, we're going to cut this part away. And well, actually, let's make the light source over here. So we'll cut this part away, and we'll do this side as the dark side. So we'll cut more of this away. So let's start with our furthest point. It should be way back here. We'll cut that back and kind of come up from that and blend it. On the front side, we're going to cut a little bit because we want the face to show up. So we'll leave the eye pretty much at full depth. And the beginning of the mouth at full depth. And you can see the clay's just a little bit wet. Just a little bit. So now when the glaze pools, we'll have a dark point here. We can actually define that even a little bit more. We'll have a dark edge there. And so now we need the eye to stand out. So we'll do that same thing. We'll bring an edge there and an edge there and fade that out. Ooh, neatly faded out, right? And the mouth, we need to make teeth. And we want to separate it from the other parts. And then the top part, you get the idea. I don't have to sit here and carve all this. I'll show a picture of it when we do the next step to it. Alright, so Sgraffito, we have put down a layer of black underglaze on BMX 5 or whatever it is here, and we're going to carve through it. So we got different tools to carve. We got the little pointy one, we got a flat one, and we got the other flat one here. So there's two different Sgraffitos. There's the regular, scratchy through it, make it look like, a thing Sgraffito. And then there's the Sgraffito and paint, which is more of what I do. So we'll do regular Sgraffito first. And we're basically just going to make a mark. When we make a mark, it cuts through. Some of the things...
You got your camera on there?
Yeah, Doug, I do.
Good.
Doug's Canadian, or part Canadian, so...
Everybody all the time, that's nice.
So with a tool like this, you actually have to hold it so that the cutting surface is directed into the cut. So I can't, this one's a waster. If I just try to make a circle and I don't turn the tool, it smears it. And like this is disgusting. This is a lazy, horrible Sgraffitoer. Same thing with like, if you hold it wrong, you go like this and bleh. It makes poop. And we don't want poopy lines. So you're gonna change the way you hold the tool depending on the line that you're making. So if I'm gonna make a circle, I actually have to turn the tool and twist it as I go so that I make a clean cut. If we cut from white into color, there isn't as much of a smudge either. So if you notice, I start in the white parts always and then cut through the color. If I go on the waster tile here again, if I take and I cut right just from the black and I drag, see this little part here? It smears the color. Whereas if I cut from, I'll start back at the white again here. If I start back at the white and I cut, there's none of that smeared color. So if I start in the black, smears. See all that smears? Ugh. And the smears in there, disgusting. Start in the white, no smears. All right, so we got the robot head started. We can make different size lines. Get a smaller cutty tool, and we can even do stuff like use a needle tool if I wanted to make really small lines. Now it's not going to be instant gratification here. We got to let that dry a little bit and wipe away the flakiness. If I try to wipe it away now, it's going to be all smeary. Do we want smeary? No. Smeary bad. But you see, look at that black mark. Ugh. Yuck. Close enough, right? We get the idea. Sgraffito numero uno. Now, I do sgraffito on a lot of my pieces so that I can have a background that is an even color, or not, well, yeah, even color, meaning I want perfect coverage. Perfect coverage means usually not painting around something. So if I painted my robot on here and I wanted a background that was red, if I paint my robot and then paint the red around the robot, my red's going to be splotchy. I can't get away from that. But if I paint my background first, carve away where my robot's going to be, and then paint my robot in that carved area, I'm going to be able to have a background just the way I want without having to paint around my robot. You could wax the robot or latex the robot or something else, but even then you're going to get parts where it might be a little heavier around your design. So we have a fade, because painting it black would be silly because you could just put on lots of black and make it, but we can't really do a fade around the background of a robot. So now I have my fade and I put a little texture on it, and I will just draw my robot first. And well, I don't have to put that much detail in because I'm going to be cutting all of this out. And it needs a little arm here. We need an arm because I want to show something else that we do with the arm. So that's the basic part there. We're going to take a broad tool, one that has like the end that is perpendicular to the handle of the piece, and I'm just going to cut all of that away. Ooh, look what I should have done. I forgot to tell you. Up at the top here, or any place where I'm going to drag from, I'm going to make a thicker line like this. So that when I drag, I don't get a lot of the smearing because I'm going from white into color. Another thing is that we need to have this relatively flat because we're going to be painting on it, which means we can't have a lot of boogers and noise, which I just made a gigantic one there, big divot. So once we get it cleared out, we're going to smooth it. So we can start the smoothing with the broad tool. I missed a spot. Now if you were going to have watercolory kind of details where you're going to be brushing on layers and washes and such, you'd have to make this really flat and you'd actually probably burnish it smooth. But I'm making a dumb robot, so I'm just going to paint. Then you get a brush. Whatever brush you... Oh, my robot's not in the... Any brush that you normally paint with, and whatever you normally put on. I'm just using black underglaze again. And then paint your design into that space. Now, the morning class said, well, why don't you shade it, Mr. Tim? So I said, okay, we'll shade it. So we'll put a little bit dark here, a little dark along this whole side, and we'll just add water. And we'll fuzz it out a little bit. I put all the other decoration on. You get the idea, right? Oh, I forgot to give him, oh no, the neck goes there. There you go, Mr. Neck. And the arm. So we get the idea, Mr. Robot. And then we can add details again if we wanted to put, let's say, rivets, you know, along. We can take out more white clay. We can add his arm by just regular Sgraffito-ness.